Well, hey everybody, I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune for the 5th day of July. It's a Monday, it's 2021, and I've started this a few times, and I don't know, I just lose my train of thought. I get off on a tangent. I got off into a human design tangent here, and I still can't remember why I did that. But I know it had something to do with what I was talking about. But anyway, if this is your first time here, welcome. Sometimes it takes me a couple of times to start. Sometimes things freeze after I've been doing it. You know, like I'm 15 minutes in, and I don't want to redo the whole thing. And so sometimes you'll see what appears to be two videos hooked together. That's because they are. And so I'll just tell you ahead of time if that happens, and I'll say something. It usually freezes, and and you can still hear me talk. And so I'll say, okay, I need to shut this down. I'm going to start again and connect them, and then I'll say it again when I start the second video. So you'll know it'll just be so obvious, but you'll know at least what I'm doing. Anyhow, so with that, last week we talked about having to make a decision about your future, about new opportunities, and weighing out a pragmatic approach versus one that maybe is a little more risk oriented. It seemed like we needed to be somewhat more risk averse because other people were involved, and so you really needed to take into account the needs and feelings of other people, like your family, or if it's a job situation, of coworkers, and yeah, there are other people involved. So anyhow, that was kind of the thrust of last week's. Now it could be that this week is also an extension of that, but maybe not. We'll just have to see. I've already started this, and I've got the runes and the first card, and so it's just that you'll see what I mean though about we started with the Two of Wands last week. We're going to start with the Two of Pentacles this week. So again, weighing out a decision over something to do this time with material security and the emotions that are surrounding that. But it could be simply about something that happened as a result of last week's, but we'll just have to see. So hopefully we've turned a corner and this is something entirely new, but maybe not. So anyhow, let's take a look at the first rune. The rune from the Elder Futhark bag is Hagalaz. It's kind of a little dark there. Maybe you can see it better over here. Looks like an H with a slanted line there in the center of it. Hagalaz is a Norn rune, one of three. It's the Norn rune of the past. And so it allows you to take another look at what you're doing. And so again, now you see why I'm a little bit, thinking that maybe this deals with last week as well. But it's having you take another look, maybe giving you another chance, another do-over. It's not destroying everything. It means hail or ice, and hail, when hail falls, it can be destructive, but there's still something left. There's still the physical structure left. It doesn't destroy everything. And then it melts as if it wasn't even there. Well, that's why it's also known as the witch rune, because the witch is powerful enough to do something and you won't even know the witch is there, right? You're just going to wonder, well, what was that? And you're not going to know. It's just not how that works. So, it's just the idea that it's transformation within a fixed framework. You don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, in other words. And then the geomancy rune for today is Laetitia, or joy, or happiness, emotional fulfillment. So in order to be that, maybe there needs to be some things that you reassess today. Maybe it's just simply perceptions that need to shift. Or it could be some kind of choice that you've made, a direction that you're going in that maybe needs to be tweaked a little bit. That, okay, the general foundation is fine. If you've already, say it's the decision made last week to embark upon some kind of new experience or opportunity, whether it's opening a business or even just so much as pitching something to the boss. Let's try this, and the boss agrees, and everybody gets together and does it, right? It's just a new opportunity that can give you some success and a little more security. But here, with the Two of Pentacles now, instead of focusing it upon new opportunities, we're focusing this upon material security. And he's standing on one foot, juggling this decision, while you can see some pretty choppy water in the ocean behind, can't you? So the emotions are not, they're not happy about something. And they're having to make a decision now because it's affecting the material security. So are we building? You see what I'm saying? Are we building on last week's new opportunity? Or is this just something else that's come up within the household? Maybe people are at odds with one another over still wearing masks. Our state has dropped restrictions. And I mean, if a store requires it, that's one thing. You have to comply. But other than that, and then there might be like state office buildings and airports and things like federal places that still want us to do that. But other than that, we have the freedom now to do what we want. Well, there's also a Delta variant that's very harmful, that's even more contagious, I guess, and more easily transmissible. Now, granted, the fact, those of us that have vaccinations, they think we're going to be fine, but it doesn't mean that we can't get it. And then give it to somebody else. We might be able to do that. So because it's new, they're recommending that maybe you want to still think about wearing a mask when you go out to the grocery store. I mean, obviously we're being given, we've reached 70% here in this state, but it's not 70% with both vaccinations. So, maybe we're fine and we don't have to do that. But but maybe you're having that conflict. You're trying to keep the material security you've established. Maybe you've all stayed well through this. Maybe nobody in your household's had it. And you just, so you see what I'm saying? It can be emotional. It's like, well, no, the fear takes over. It's like, well, no, let's just all agree to wear masks while we're out and about for a while longer. And then we can, walking around here, that's one thing, but in the store, let's do this. So there could be that kind of discussion going on and that type of decision. But let's go and see. Let's see what the next cards are and see if we can get a little bit more information on what this is about. But that's why I was saying, I don't know. This could have something to do with last week's new opportunity. Just because of what I've got so far. But maybe not. I mean, this is all just influences anyway. We're just trying to draw some kind of a parallel. So if it's something you're still working on, well, then you'll know that, right? Let's take our next card. Well, the Four of Cups. Cups is emotions. It's the water element. We see a hand reaching out from the cloud. That's a familiar theme in tarot. Usually you see it in the aces. But here we have 3 cups on the ground, 3 golden chalices on the ground. Now he's sitting. I see this as a defensive posture. I see this as, 4 is about settling out. It's about structure and foundation and letting things settle and looking at the whole picture. It can also mean respite. You look at the Four of Swords, you see the knight is laying down, letting his thoughts come to rest. This would be letting your emotions settle out or coming to rest. But I'm sorry, when you're in a defensive posture like that, to me it's a pity party. It's like he seems to be looking at the 3 emotions here represented by the 3 cups, but whatever's going on here. But here he doesn't seem to even notice, and his back is up against an oak tree. So there's some strength there, but it's also tenacity. It's also refusing to let go of emotions that no longer serve you. It's like, I'm going to hang on. My legs are crossed, my arms are crossed. It almost looks like he's got right here, he's got some kind of cross right here. So there's it's like, I'm going to hang on. I need to make this decision about my material security. It's causing me great angst. I'm going to sit down with my back against the tree and I'm just going to sit there and I'm not going to budge. That's what it reminds me of. I truly, in all the time I've done tarot, I've read tarot cards, I don't see it any other way. I really don't, because he can't even see what's being offered to him. Another emotion, another way of feeling about something. And so he's just going to sit there and try to figure it out, and maybe he'll come to a better conclusion. Maybe he will. We don't know. This is just the process of it right now. So we'll see if this next card maybe shows us, what he, maybe what he's actually going to do here. Well, it's the Ace of Cups. He needs a new way of feeling about things. He needs a new level of compassion, maybe even compassion for himself. But he needs that. We see the dove of peace dropping a disc and I'll show you what I see that as here. I actually have it written out and ready. I don't have to draw it out for you. But this white disc, and we don't know how many that the dove has dropped in, because you can see the hand reaching out from the clouds again, just like here, in offering of a new emotional presence, new compassion, new empathy, the genesis of love, the genesis of a new emotional presence here. And you see the waters of love spilling forth over the card. Now there's over the face of the card into the water, nourishing our emotions. Now, so you see the cross here on the disc that the dove of peace is putting down into the water, is dropping into the water. This is what that is, at least in my opinion. We have the axis of creation. Here is the downward motion into form. That's the soul's leap into form. Here you have the horizontal line of the physical realm, or the abyss, however you want to look at it. And and at that point, once they take the leap into form and focus their energy into form and fuse into the body, then we now have the polarity, the feminine and the masculine, or the receptive and the projective polarity. Okay, gender is determined at that point, all of that. But the polarity isn't gender. It's just, because it's just the balance of the projective and receptive presence within. That's true for anyone. And you could have a man who's got a stronger receptive presence, and a woman that has a stronger projective presence. So you see, it really doesn't have anything to do with gender. But the bottom line is the dove of peace is trying to imbue form with spirit. Now, again, it's stressing that there needs to be a new emotional presence, the genesis of something new here. Let's take a look at what the challenge card is going to be. What will stand in the way of that? This could have nothing to do with last week, or it could. Maybe whatever new opportunity you started last week, maybe it's just a little makes people nervous, in your family or something, or maybe at work, some of your coworkers might be a little nervous about the new direction, and people are concerned about what the outcome's going to be, and will the new direction actually take care of them? Will it be a positive experience? How will that all manifest in their lives? So it could have something to do with that. Or this could just simply be a decision that has to be made this week that's emotional in nature. And you're having a difficult time letting go of emotions that you've hung on to for so long. But in order to make that decision, you really need to, and you need to allow spirit to infuse that whole process and let that be the source of whatever decision you have to make. Now, the King of Wands. The King of Wands is going to be a powerful individual. He's going to be authoritative, an older man, knowledgeable, a wise counselor. Now, he can be cruel. The problem I have with the kings in the Rider-Waite deck is that they never seem to look you in the eye. And if you're not going to look me in the eye, well, then I'm going to be wondering, what are you thinking? What are you doing? What are you doing that you don't want me to know about? What are you thinking? What are you planning you don't want me to know about? Because they won't look you in the eye, or where they won't answer a question directly. All right, there's too much indirect self, and it's like you look at the King of Pentacles and he's all focused on his own wealth, right? So I see the king as someone who sits apart from other people and maybe has trouble connecting with them. And here you see the King of Wands. Wands is the fire element. Now, the staff is mostly straight up and down, so he acts with some integrity, but again, he's not looking at you. And that just bothers me. But what it could be saying is that you're going to have to exercise a little bit of will if you're having trouble letting go of of emotions that no longer serve. You can't do, in other words, you're going to need a little bit of the fire element perhaps to take you out of that space. If you stay within the water element, you're probably going to just remain passive and just sit there and all day long and not make any decision at all because you're too caught up in the emotions of it. You need something that's going to shake you out of it, make you see the truth, and that's challenging when you're caught up in a pity party. That's a really challenging thing to do, but you still have to do it. So that's the challenge, is to go ahead and let your will exercise a little bit here and get you out of that passive influence where you can't make a decision, where emotions are clouding your judgment, and all you can see is your own emotional agenda here. And again, the ace is suggesting you need a new rationale there. You need a new emotional rationale is what you need. And it needs to, with the dove of peace up there, it's signaling this has got to come from spirit and not ego. So let's look at the final card where we're looking at the what's going to benefit this whole process. And let's take the 13th card. Okay, so not only do we need the genesis of new emotions, we have to let go of perceptions that are no longer serving us. We have to put them in order. We have to see them for what they are and let them go. Nine of Swords is about, the nine is about endings and completions. So there you see that the nightmare is over. You've awakened. Everything is in order. You see the quilt alone. It has a structured pattern to it. So reality is returning. Everything is in its place. The nightmare and all of that was plaguing you is done. You now know what you need to do. And you just need to let that happen. You need to let go of perceptions and emotions that are not serving the decision you need to make, whatever it is. And if this again is related to the new opportunities from last week, well, okay, but it doesn't have to be. This could be something new that's cropped up that, where people are upset about, you're upset about it. Maybe this is something in your family. And again, my example was where people might be arguing over whether or not to wear a mask still now, with even if your state has lifted restrictions like ours has. There's always a caveat to all of this. It depends on the situation. If you're in an area where the majority of the people are not vaccinated, well, heck, if you've got a compromised immune system, you've got to look at that. You can't ignore that. Even if you've had your vaccines, it still makes sense to wear a mask. I don't know. But that could be a decision, again, with your material security, your physical security, that needs to be made. So, if people went to super spreader events on the weekend over the 4th of July, because in effect that's what you're doing, well, I don't know. Depending on where you are, that might be okay. But if you're in an area where people have not been wearing masks and they're not getting vaccinated, maybe not so much, right? So again, you have to weigh out the decision with the Two of Pentacles and see where that takes you. And you've got to get rid of the emotion of it. You've got to get rid of the perception of it. And you've got to be able to see things in a reasonable manner. So again, whether it has to do with last week's new direction, new opportunities, or this is just a new situation you're dealing with, I think taking another look at things from a dispassionate viewpoint is never a bad thing. So I don't know. But let's see how this goes. We'll see if on Thursday we turn another corner, or if we're going to talk a little more about what happened here and what that was all about. So anyway, thanks for watching. And everywhere I'm at, click the show more and you'll see all the links to wherever I am. If you want to sign up for the newsletter, that's over on the blog. Sign up is over there on the left side panel. Just scroll down a little bit and you'll see where to put your email in. And you'll get the esoteric and magical influences in your inbox on Saturdays. And then Sundays we do the esoteric influences, the video version of it. If you follow me over on Patreon, thank you very much. To do that, that's $1 a month or $12 a year. And you'll see the correspondences for each day, Monday through Friday, along typically with a video as well. unless I simply just don't have time or something, and then I'll at least put up the post. I also write the Esoteric Forecast over on Medium Monday through Friday, and then check out the forecast itself on the blog. That's the big long one on the blog Monday through Friday over at Stepping Aside at imsteppingaside.com. And give this a like and subscribe to the channel. I'd love you to do that. And have a good week. Be good to yourself. Be good to one another. And blessed be.